Thanks for checking out this movie review video. So this is for the 2021 release, upcoming release of VHS 94. Now, if you're watching this, you probably already know about the VHS series most likely, but if you don't, it's basically a anthology found footage film in essence. So it's multiple writer-directors and it's multiple stories that all kind of come together. I don't think in the past the VHS stories have come together in each of the films, but this one they actually do that. They tie it all together, um, kind of in a weak way, in my opinion. But some people may really enjoy it. One of the other things to say is that this is a disclaimer. I'm not a big fan of found footage in general. If you've been watching my channel long enough, you probably know that. I barely have any found footage movie reviews because I don't really enjoy watching them. It doesn't mean I won't do it because obviously here I'm doing this one, but there's good and there's bad with this. Overall, I think I'll just give you my rating up front for the overall. Overall, it averages out to about a 3-star rating out of 5 stars with half stars in play. So I think it's worth checking out. It's mainly worth checking out for one of the stories that kind of blew me away, to be honest. And it kind of sucks, I guess, for the other writer-directors because this one person just showed up and just killed it. And they're like the person who in class screws up the bell curve for everyone else, basically. Like everyone's just like, I didn't do that great on that test, but you know what? There will be we'll get the curve, and I'll get moved up some points, and we'll all be good. And then you found out someone got 100% on the test, so there's no curve up. That's this person, and I'll talk about them when I get to the where their story is in the chronology of the film. So David Bruckner did the original VHS. He was the original director for that, and he was originally signed on to do VHS 94, but he ended up having to drop out because of work on the Hellraiser reboot, which I guess that's still a thing. Is it still a thing? I don't know. We'll find out. Then the film collective Radio Silence was supposed to be directing, but ended up dropping out due to work on the upcoming Scream sequel. Is that also a thing? I didn't know that's a thing. I don't think we need that, but whatever. Also, probably should have said this earlier. This film comes to Shudder on Wednesday, October 6th, and since it comes out in the future when I'm putting this review up, this is a no spoiler review. I'll talk about aspects of the stuff and not really anything thematically because there really isn't much of anything thematically to talk about so much. But I'm not going to give any synopses of the individual stories because they'll give away too much. And yeah, no spoilers. So there you go. So the first of the stories is the Wraparound story that kind of brings everything together. And that one's called Holy Hell. And it's written and directed by Jennifer Reeder, who also did films Signature Move and Knives and Skin. Not familiar with those. For this one, the acting is eh. It's probably it's probably the roughest actually of all of the stories acting wise. It has good atmosphere and some really creepy elements to it, which I like, especially as the camera's kind of going through everything. There's some decent creepy atmospheric reveals, so that's good. Nice shooting location that is used pretty much to its fullest. But the way everything really ends up getting tied together is a very whatever thing, and obviously that's this film. This story is the beginning, and it is the ending of the film. And the way it ends, you're just kind of like, okay. But I will say that these types of stories within an anthology that they're trying to have, one story kind of tie everything together. It's kind of hard to do that, in my opinion. So I don't really hold it against Reader that this wasn't like great, because that's a tough thing to do. It's really really tough to do in my opinion. But anyway, so that was so overall out of 5 stars with half stars in play, I would give Holy Hell a 2-star rating. Not big on it. So then the next one's called Storm Drain, and this one was written and directed by Chloe Okuno, who has no features, but I think did a pretty good job on this one. There's some nice nostalgic nods and a little bit of slight humor. When I say nods, kind of like nods to other horror movies and horror literature and stuff like that, which, obviously you'll get. It's very nice. And like I said, some slight humor to it that does land. It does work, so I like that. Solid acting, and the interactions actually feel real between the characters who are interacting. so that's very good. The first jump scare is really good. Now, that's important for me personally because jump scares, a lot of them are very kind of cliche and they don't really scare you. This one didn't actually scare me, but I feel like it was a good jump scare that was an interesting jump scare. So kudos on that. There are solid practical effects and a very nice first reveal of the practical effects, in my opinion. It's something that I'm not going to say it comes out of nowhere because, like, you kind of know something's coming at that point, but what it ends up being kind of unexpected, and I enjoy that aspect of the story. There is an abrupt cut during it that is kind of funny. I'm not going to say much more than that. You'll see what I mean. I got a little bit of a chuckle out of it, so I enjoy that. That's just an added humor thing for the story. And there's a pretty nicely satisfying ending with more practical effect use. So this one was pretty good. It was kind of on the shorter side in my opinion. But overall, out of 5 stars with half stars in play, I'm going to give Storm Drain a 3-star rating. So pretty solid, pretty solid. Then comes the next one, The Empty Wake. Now this one was written and directed by Simon Barrett. He's directed a portion for VHS 2. He also directed the recent film to come to Shudder, Seance, which I was not at all a fan of. And he wrote scripts for A Horrible Way to Die, You're Next, and a script for the original VHS. Or I think potentially multiple scripts for the original VHS. So he started in writing, and now he's working on directing. Not that I haven't been that impressed, and this story kind of like goes along with what I thought about Seance, unfortunately. The setup is kind of mundane, as are the jump scares. Like I said, for the last story, for Storm Drain, there was a good jump scare for The Empty Wake. I forgot the name of it. For The Empty Wake, jump scares are not really jump scares. The integration of cameras to get the found footage is pretty well done. There was a lot of thought that really needed to go into that, so I will give kudos to Barrett for coming up with that. That worked out pretty well. There is a consistent storm sound throughout. I don't think it's all the way through the story, but I like sounds like that. That does help with atmosphere, so I think that was a good choice. I enjoy that from a sound standpoint. Again, nice practical effects in this one. When they use practical effects, which it takes a little bit for this story to actually get to its point, and for that reason, it has terrible pacing. The pacing is awful for this. It seems like you're kind of waiting around for no real reason. They're not really developing story much. It seems kind of like they're just trying to waste time, and then they get to the payoff at the end, which is a solid enough payoff. I actually enjoyed that payoff, but overall not so hot. So out of 5 stars with half stars in play, I'm giving it 2 stars on this one again. Now the next one is the one. Okay, so the next one is called The Subject. And the person who ruined the bell curve for this film was writer-director Timo Tjahjanto. I hope I got that right because I've reviewed another one of his films and I think I just butchered his last name. I Googled how to say it and I believe it's Tjahjanto. So Timo Tjahjanto, who also did films Takut, Faces of Fear, Macabre, did a portion of ABCs of Death, did a portion on VHS 2, also did May the Devil Take You, May the Devil Take You 2, and Portals, just to name some. So a much larger body of work than everyone else, honestly, directorially. The main character does a really nice job in his role in this one. The initial main character who shows up, that's how you know who I'm talking about, because there are a few main characters to it, basically. But the first person who shows up, I thought did an excellent job. In general, though, the acting in this is quite good. It's definitely the best acting of all of the stories, in my opinion. Everything about this is the best of all the stories, to be honest. The setting and story setup is pretty disturbing. And it's disturbing in a way where it kind of makes you feel like you know where it's going to go, but you don't know where it's going to go, most likely. I mean, I had an idea of where they were headed, and I was partially right on where they were headed, but there's a lot more that ends up being to it that there's no way you're going to fully guess where this is really going. So I really like the aspect of it seeming very simple and then not being that simple. And actually, because it gets way more complicated, it gets way more fun. It really kind of feels like it just starts to lose control in a really great and fun way. And you're just like, I was not expecting this. Here we go. I'm strapping in for this ride. Happily strapping in for this ride. Um, so at first there isn't a lot of story, like I was saying, but it does keep you engaged with some good pacing and a really interesting concept, also a disturbing concept at first if you're into that. Then it goes way past what you thought and gets extremely fun. Like I said, from a directorial standpoint, this one was probably pretty challenging to pull off. I was consistently in awe when I saw what was next, then next, then next. Like the fact that it kept going and they kept doing the types of things they're doing in this, I was like, surely this has to be the end at this point. But it just keeps going. Like you keep feeling like it's gonna end, but it keeps going, but not in a bad way. Like this is one of the very few times where a film doesn't end when I think it's gonna end, and I'm happy about that. So it's wow. And for a found footage film, like I think there's a lot accomplished here. A lot accomplished here. I really can't say enough about how good this particular story is, and I would love, love, love to see a feature length of this. And that says a lot because, like I said in the beginning, I don't like found footage really. I typically don't like it, but this story really hooked me. It is, and it's not just the story, it's how it's executed. It is so very well executed. All right. I kept thinking it was about. Oh, I already said that. Sorry. They really went for it when it comes to gore with this one as well, so I appreciate that. Violence and gore gets pretty up there, and I didn't see that coming, especially because the stories prior, they don't go super heavy on it. It kind of feels like the budgets were different. Like all the other stories had a pretty low budget, but this one got like an unfair allocation of the budget, and that's why it looks so good. I don't know if that's the case or not, but that's kind of how it seemed. But anyway, out of 5 stars with half stars in play, 4.5 stars on this one. It is very good, and really, this is what kind of reaches it to the VHS 94 getting an overall 3-star rating for me. This one skews that up quite a bit. And honestly, I would say this story is the reason to watch it. The other ones, there's stuff to definitely enjoy, but if you're looking for something that's really going to grip you, like this story is going to grip you and makes watching this totally worth it. Totally worth it. Then I'm going to get to the last story, which is called Terror. That one's written and directed by Ryan Prows, who did a film called Low Life, which I'm not familiar with. I've never heard of Low Life, but yeah, maybe I'll have to check it out. The setup lets you immediately know what current societal issue they're actually trying to play with here, which it's a little bit misleading when I say that just because this is called VHS 94 because it's set in 1994. It's supposed to be set in 1994. And you can feel that, you really can, because they actually set it up as being done on like actual VHS cassette, like shot that way. So you get that. But with this particular story, Terror, like it's set up that it's a societal ill of right now that was around back in 1994. So it was a thing back then, but it's way more of a thing now. And you'll see what I mean. And I know there are some people who are going to throw their hands up and get angry about what the point is or one of the aspects of this. But I would just remind you, this is entertainment. If you're getting mad about entertainment, do not watch it. You can choose to just be done with it. Just turn it off and you're done. And you also don't need to go online and be a keyboard cowboy and try and tell everyone that you hate something, because most likely nobody cares. Nobody cares that you hate it. I'm just saying. And it makes you look dumb when you're saying stupid things. Now, if you have legitimate reasons why you don't like it and you can back that up and say, it wasn't shot that well, the story was actually very poorly paced, things like that, that's good. Like, people will listen to that and people want to read that type of stuff. But when you just go on and you're like, this is political and it sucks, or I just didn't like it, and that's it, nobody wants your opinion. Like, it's unimportant. and nobody likes it. And people will just move right past it. So don't do it. The acting is okay. It's not bad, but it's not great. It kind of hits that middle ground of being good enough. It is good enough for what it is, I will say. There are a few humorous moments, and I did enjoy the humorous moments. There are actually more humorous moments to it than I thought there would end up being. And I did enjoy them, like I said. Like, this is some stuff that actually made me kind of chuckle, which is cool. So I'm down with that. I get the point of this. I do. But it is a bit boring. It's a bit boring until the very end portion, but there isn't enough of that end portion that's super fun and interesting. Although it does have some nice practical effects that get revealed at the very end. The problem is it just feels like you went through a lot to get to the ending that then doesn't pay off as big as it really should for how long you had to wait to get there, in my opinion. But another thing is that's kind of how found footage works, unfortunately, which is one of the reasons I'm not a big fan of found footage, because it oftentimes makes you wade through so much and really destroys its own pacing just to get the point across that it feels realistic and it's like someone actually filming something in real life. So it is what it is, you know. The way they move an important aspect of the stories forward is pretty weak, I do have to say. But there is another aspect of the story that you see them kind of getting to, but the way they pull it off is kind of surprising, but then also kind of funny at the same time. And I did enjoy that. It's a little tongue-in-cheek, and I'm down with that. Overall, with 5 stars, out of 5 stars with half stars in play for this one, I'm going to give Terror a 2.5. So not terrible. I felt very much in the middle on it. So the last things I have to say about this, Tjahjanto is in his own league in this. Literally in his own league. And it makes you just wish that he had done this entire film. It really made me, you know, no offense to the other writer-directors. You guys did solid enough jobs. But the problem is, when you're in a film with someone like Tjahjanto, you don't, like, you look way below their level. And that's kind of what happens here. That it is unfortunate. Like I said, he just ruined that bell curve. He just obliterated it. I feel conflicted about found footage because I like more structured stories and less wasted time. This kind of goes to what I was talking about how the pacing is usually pretty bad, and it really does feel like there's a lot of wasted time in found footage films. I'm not saying that, you know, I'm not trying to get at a point that, like, if you like found footage that you like a bad subgenre. Like, it's just my personal preference for it. I realize that there are a lot of people who really love found footage, and there are some really good found footage films out there for sure. It's just not my thing, you know? So, but I respect people who love it. I really do. So, there you have it. VHS 94. Definitely watch it, though. Definitely watch it for the subject. The story of the subject. Man, I would rewatch that. Kind of want to rewatch it now, to be honest. But anyway, go ahead and put some comments down there. We can do spoilers in the comments. Go ahead. Once you've seen it, you can come back here, comment with spoilers if you want to talk about stuff in the film. We can do that. Do me a favor, hit subscribe if you haven't already. If you have, you're awesome and thank you. If you haven't, it is quick, it is painless, it costs you $0, and it is your way to pay me back for all the free content that I'm putting out there, because I'm not getting, like, this isn't a job for me. I'm not getting paid. I work a normal job, and then I also do this, which there's a lot of time that goes into this, to be honest. So, do me a favor and subscribe, and you're keeping me motivated to keep this going in my free time, what little I have. But anyway, really appreciate you taking your time to watch this video, and until next time, keep it brutal.